On today's video, I'm going to install this Kemimoto soundbar onto this Tracker side-by-side. Hey there, outdoor YouTubers. Well, back in the 80s, I always wanted to have one of those super cool, ginormous boom boxes. You know, the kind that took like 16 D-cell batteries, and that was just enough battery power to get you through 4 entire cassette tapes. Well, the boombox I had back in the 80s was a little bit on the small side, but hey, better late than never, right? So here it is, some 40 years later, and I finally got my super cool sound system. And I don't have to carry it on my shoulder, and it's as portable as anywhere a side-by-side will go. What I'm talking about is this Kemimoto 33-inch soundbar. Soundbars are kind of like those boom boxes from the 80s. They both are players and speakers all wrapped up into one package. But of course, the cassette tapes are a thing of the past. This Kemimoto soundbar connects with your music through Bluetooth, MP3, or a USB port. It's got 8 speakers, it comes with a remote control, it lights up to the beat if you want it to, and it's also IP65 waterproof rated. And what that means is it's dust tight and it's watertight against a light pressure water spray. Now, anyone who drives side-by-sides off-road knows that you're going to be dealing with some dust. And that light water pressure spray rating, well, I hope that includes a few snowflakes, because this unit is definitely going to have a few snowflakes in its future. This model came with universal mounting brackets that fits several different sizes of roll bars, and these brackets can be mounted on the top or the bottom of the soundbar. This Kemimoto 33-inch soundbar comes standard with a cigarette lighter plug to power the unit up. So if you have a cigarette lighter power outlet near where you want to mount this unit, you can just plug it in and you're ready to go. It also comes with a cable that you can connect directly to the battery, and then you can plug into that. But for me, I wanted to hook this soundbar up to a power source that shuts off when the key of the side-by-side is shut off. I don't want to have to worry about accidentally leaving the soundbar on and draining the battery. I don't want to have to remember to unplug it from a cigarette lighter outlet. And I don't want to have to remember to push the off button on the soundbar itself either. And also, you kind of want to keep this in mind. Anything that can be powered up with a remote control never really shuts off completely anyways. There's always going to be a slight power consumption by the electronics that are just kind of sitting there waiting for a signal from the remote control to turn on. So I just wanted to avoid all these issues. Well, I broke out my Tracker owner's manual and found that it comes with a switched accessory plug right underneath the dash, just waiting for me to connect a soundbar up to it. So that was really cool to discover that. So the next order of business is cutting off the power plug, extending the wires to reach up to the dash area, and hooking it up. The manual recommends using 12 to 14 gauge wire, and I'm going to connect these wires where I cut off the cigarette lighter plug with heat shrink butt splices, and I'm also going to do it overkill by adding some additional heat shrink, and then I'm going to wrap the whole thing up with this really stretchy rubber tape. I want to come into the dashboard area from the passenger side. That way I avoid dealing with the steering console and all the other control wires that are mounted on the driver's side already. Now, I want these wires to be discreet, and I also want these wires to be protected. So for the first little bit, I just tie wrapped that initial cable to the roll bar, and then I ran the wires into sections of this protective wire wrap. Then I tie wrapped it to the side roll cage, ran the wire down the edge of the seat, down to the floor, and then underneath the rocker panels. And here's a little tip for you guys. When you're fishing wires through short little runs here or there, a coat hanger really works great as a fish tape. Now we've got our wires to the dash area, and I'm going to connect the appropriate plug to the wires using that same overkill butt splice heat shrink tape technique. Then I put a little anti-oxidation grease on the connections and plugged it in. Now the soundbar is connected to the power source, and it only comes on when the key is on. Now the next order of business is to find out which fuse feeds this connection. On my Tracker, there's two little fuse panels underneath the front hood. The one on the passenger side is the one that has a fuse that is labeled switched accessory. So I pulled that fuse, and lo and behold, that killed the power to my soundbar. So we have the right fuse slot, but we don't really quite have the right fuse. Now this fuse slot is labeled 30 amp, but that only means that the factory wiring that goes to this fuse can go up to 30 amps. That doesn't necessarily mean that whatever you hook up to this point should be fused at 30 amps. I spliced in 14 gauge wire to the cable coming out of this soundbar, so it would be appropriate for us to fuse this device at 15 amps. And that's also what the manual for the soundbar recommends. It's just something to keep in mind. Even though the fuse slot might be rated for 30 amps or 25 amps, you can always go lower to help protect whatever piece of equipment you're hooking to it, but you never want to go higher because the factory wiring might not be big enough to support a higher amp fuse. So we plug in our 15 amp fuse, and now our soundbar powers up when the key is on. So now we just need to screw everything back down and take it for a ride. Now, this Kemimoto 33-inch soundbar really does have a good quality sound to it, and it does go very loud. I think it actually goes up to 11. So now, when my wife and I go out for a side-by-side ride, we can listen to all our favorite music from back in the 80s. So guys, if you're interested in this soundbar or any other soundbars that Kemimoto offers, I'll leave some links below that'll bring you right to this particular soundbar and right to the Kemimoto website. Eat shark. Very good. So guys, if you're interested in more videos about getting out and enjoying the great outdoors of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, be sure to check out the entire channel. And if you enjoy what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. And for bonus content, be sure to check out our Patreon page. A link to this page can be found in the description of this video. And also guys, remember to hunt, fish, laugh, repeat. Thanks for watching, and God bless.